The Life Talk Show is about testimonies where you can listen to be inspired, encouraged, uplifted, and entertained. It's the life.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ashley Cotton, the host for the Life Talk Show. And today with me, I do have a guest, Rogers Vigne. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce him to you by reading his bio. But of course, you all know that this is about testimonies, how we overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimonies based off of Revelation 12:11. And so I just want you all to just really listen and really, let the Lord minister to you however he sees fits, whatever you may need to hear, that you will hear it on today. I want to thank you all for watching from Facebook and also YouTube, for liking, sharing, and subscribing to the YouTube channel. Nothing goes unnoticed. I usually go back and read all of the comments because I can't see them here live, but I do go back and look at the comments and, reply to each and every one of you. So I do thank you for the support. And so without further ado, Roger Vigne. Let's see, I have his bio right here. Having over 2 decades of professional experience, certified coach Rogers R. Vigne has a strong and passionate desire to see everyone reach their professional goals. He has acquired a wide array of degrees, trainings, experiences, certifications, as well as personal successes and failures has led him to offer his knowledge and wisdom via My Digital Self, LLC. He fully understands the various stages of professional evolution, from student to junior professional to high-level professional to expert to industry-influencing business leader. His ultimate goal is to enhance the human condition through efforts that make people more self and opportunistically aware. So let's welcome Roger Vigne to the Life Talk Show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So Roger, go ahead. What is your testimony? What is it that you want to encourage, inspire people to listen to know about you? Because God is no respecter of person. Everybody has their trials, tribulations, their valley, their deserts, and even their mountaintop that they have to get to, which is their inheritance, whatever he's called you, commissioned you to do for your bloodline to put you in a better position. So what is that?
So one of the biggest testimonies that I like to share is I know that everyone, depending on the calling you have on you, is like that determines how long of a wilderness period that you go through, right? It's like, like, for example, when Moses had his call and he had to go through 40 years to do what he had to do, and David had to go through the cave to do what he had to do. So everybody has that period. And my time period was, I would like to think is extensive, on my side, but God likes to show me the little breadcrumbs and stuff along the way, how he's done in my life. For example, one of my favorite stories that I like to share is in my college background. When I was in school, I'm the first person in my family to actually get a college degree. So no one had ever actually finished, right, in my family on both sides. So it was in 1990, I want to say 1999, and I'm in my senior year, and I have been through a lot of trials and tribulations just to get to that point. That's a story within itself. But I was taking this one particular course that was actually outside of my, it was in finance, but my major was in information systems, which is in computers. So they had this high level finance class I was taking that I don't even understand why was it even in the degree plan. So I'm taking the class, and the professor had 3 tests. He had a test like right before the midterm the midterm, and the final. All tests were comprehensive, which means everything had to be covered. Everything was fair game from day one all the way to the end when he got to the final test. And on the first test, honestly, I failed it. I mean, finance, it was high level finance, so it wasn't an area that I had mastered, even knew a whole lot about up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the professor, and I was at a school where the mascot was a Confederate soldier, just to kind of give you a little bit of a background. So I went to the professor.
Now, where is this located? What school is this?
Well, they changed the mascots back then, but the name of the school was Nicholls State University, and their mascot was a Confederate soldier, a soldier in a Confederate uniform. And they've since changed it since I went there, but that was back in the 90s. That was their mascot.
Mm-hmm.
But the school did have one of the top programs in information systems at the time in the state, so it was a great opportunity for me to, get my education there. I did get actually a pretty good education there, but we did have that as a backdrop, as a part of the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to the professor, I'm going to do anything it took, tutoring, extra credit, whatever. I really want to pass this class, right? So I explained to him, I said, listen, I know you have 3 tests, according to my calculations, I have to make a B or higher on both the midterm and the final just to pass this class. Is there anything I can do, to prepare more, have access to some tutors, some other resources, extra work, whatever. He said, a B in the next couple tests, that sounds right. And he walked off. And I was like, oh, okay, this is on me. So it was my last semester, so I was really focused on this class. I studied my butt off for the midterm. I actually made a B on the midterm, which was just grace beyond grace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we get close to the end of the course, we're about to take the final. The final is comprehensive, and myself. I remember I was sharing the part with my best friend at the time. So he and I were both taking the same class, and we were sitting there and we were just studying hours and hours and hours leading up to the night before the class. And the night before the class, we're up late. We're going all over this stuff over and over again. It's comprehensive, so the whole book is fair game. And I'm just like, I know the professor kind of is not necessarily in my corner, Nobody in my family's ever actually finished this class, has stopped other people from graduating out this degree plan. So it's like all these things kind of going in your mind at once. And I just say, you know what? Of course, you're in deep prayer. You're constantly, communicating with God. But I was like, you know what, God? It's on you. I've done all I can do. Your word says you've done all, just stand. And I just closed the book. My best friend looked at me. He was like, what are you doing? I say, hey, man, look, I've done all I can, saying it's in his hands now. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I closed the book and I went to bed, right? And I just decided to have a peace about it. If I don't, I just left it in his hands. So the next morning I get up, get to class and take the test, and I take the test, do the best I can. But the thing that kind of got me was that, I looked up and I only saw like 1 or 2 people get up and put their papers up. I knew that those people were finance majors that finished the test early, but I was like the 3rd person finished, which kind of shocked me. I was like, I purposely went back over everything just so I wouldn't be like I felt like I'd be getting up too early,
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay. So I purposely waited for about a few more people to get up and turn their test in before I got up and did mine, And then as I walked out the door, I just lift my arms up and I was like, "This is it. It's on you," because this is the only class I had left for me to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So to this day, I don't know what I made on that final. I don't. They didn't post the grades for the final. All I know is that about a week and a half later, when I called the business college to see if I was on the graduation list, I said I knew the secretary personally, because you make relationships with people in certain positions.
Right.
So I called her up, And she was like, "Hey, Roger." I was like, "Hey, lady, how you doing? I just want to make sure." She said, "Okay, let me check the list." And he had that pause. And I feel like it lasts for eternity. And then she said, no, first I asked her that I passed Finance 302. That's the question I asked her. She looked, she said, "Yeah, look, you passed." I was like, "Yes." I hung up the phone. I started celebrating. I said, "Wait a minute, a D is passing. I don't need a D." So I called her back and I said, "Hey, did I make at least a B in that class?" And she said, "Rogers, you're graduating." And it was just one of those moments that I keep coming back to. That was in 1999, December 1999, and it's a moment that I come back to because as I go through these other trials and trial periods of my life, as I went the route of managing my career, I had a couple times I got fired from a job for doing the right thing. Literally, like I didn't do something. I said I wouldn't do something illegal, and I lost my job. So, and I had a mortgage and a car note and all that stuff. I've had situations where I stepped out into this entrepreneurial world, walked away from a job as God led me to, and it led me to some serious financial hardship. So I keep thinking about moments like that and how He brought me through there to get me through to give me additional fuel to get me through these next phases. Because if He didn't drop me there, and He did drop me in a couple of other areas, other times where things was really rough, that I know that He won't drop me now.
Okay, so right now we're just scratching the surface, but a few things that caught my attention is one, that you come from a background where there are no college graduates and maybe even no high school graduates within your family. What compelled you? What was the driving factor for you to conquer and to say, you know what, I'm going to go on to not only graduate high school, but also to get a college degree to graduate? And what did your family say? Because you're the first one out of both sides of the family, out of generations. So what did your family say? What was that moment like?
So I have high school grads in a family, but college was like the big thing. Like, oh, that's just kind of too big to do. But for me, there's a couple things. One, I'm born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. I love my city, love my hometown, love where I'm from. But it just seemed, like things was slow. And I was like, I wonder what else was available. And I'm the oldest of 5. I got 4 younger brothers. So I felt like I need to be an example for them. So the better I can go and do, the more I can come back and teach them and show them, okay, if I trailblaze the way, then it'll be easier for them to go down that path. So that's something I took upon myself from the day my first brother was born when I was 5. I'm 5 years older than the one closest to me in age. So that's just something that I wanted for myself. And a big catalyst for me was yet another short testimony story. When I was in the 10th grade, they had this program called Close Up, where they take students to Washington, D.C. for a week.
Oh, yeah, Close Up, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I didn't know anybody that had traveled like that, especially took a flight. Like, I didn't know anybody who flew, on the other side, anything like that. And anybody who could afford it. So I asked my parents, I say, hey, got this trip coming up. Is there any way I could, get some money, or you guys can help me out to go on this trip? And my mom said, well, we can't afford that. However, I just got this pie recipe from your grandmother, and I've been making these pies. If you help me make these pies, she makes these deep dish pies, sweet potato, apple blueberry. They're amazing. Homemade crust, the whole 9. She said, if you help me make these pies and help me sell these pies, if we sell enough pies, then we could use the money to send you to DC. Well, not only did of course, I helped her, but we sold more than we thought we were going to sell, and it more than paid for the trip to go to DC. And to this day, my mom has a pie business from that.
Oh, see, look at God. That one idea that, just working with your gift will make room. Just working your gift, your talent, whatever that may be that God places in you. It's a recipe or whatever, business idea, venture, whatever. And then it's still it reminds me of the woman with the pots, the oil pots. You know,
Mhm.
he said collect all. He said first give me, you know, my cake and feed me the profit, and then he gave her the instruction on what to do to build wealth. And she collected the oil pots and got oil, and it never ran out.
Right. And it never tells you how much she really had, because how much she, that was worth. But apparently, it says she lived on from that. And
Yeah.
like wait, she lived on like she was set. Oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? So that had to be a heck of a market for that particular product. But anyway, yeah. So my mom to this day has a pie business that came from that moment. But the catalyst for me is that when I went to DC and I got a chance to go to the Smithsonian and the Capitol building and the Library of Congress and all these different parts of that city, Lincoln Memorial, Jefferson Memorial. When I saw the world was a lot bigger than New Orleans, as much as I love my city, I was like, there's no way on the planet you're gonna keep me in the confines of the state of Louisiana for the rest of my days. That's just not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big driver for me. Between that experience and want to be a trailblazer for my brothers is what were motivating factors for me to do something different.
Okay. So now let's go to the other testimony, the other point that you made, where you
Mhm.
said you were working on a job and they wanted you to do something illegal, but you didn't because of integrity and because of character.
And plus, God's
And,
looking at me like, I'm supposed to be a steward of this career that He's given me. I can't do that. I can't do
right.
that to properly represent Him, and just for the sake of fear of what retribution can happen. So there's been a couple of instances where I've been presented situations like that where people like, well, if you're smart, you would do this, and that's how you make the money or make the connection with these people doing this, that, and the other. But like, I just won't put a price on my integrity like that, you know what I'm saying? Plus, God is ultimately in control of all of this, so He can turn things on a dime and happen and have things happen according to His favor and His providence, as opposed to having the favor of a person that sits in the office and may have some financial, you know, um, financial position. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I personally live by. But
Mm-hmm.
but to get into little bit more detail about that particular story, I was working at a business consulting firm, and I was a representative of that organization working with different companies. And this one particular company wanted me to sign off on these mortgage calculations, and that's not my area of specialty. I'm running their IT and their quality assurance for their software and stuff like that. I'm not over their finance stuff, and I have no idea if these companies are correct. They said we need you to sign off on these on behalf of the organization that you're working with, but you need to personally sign off on these. And my company's like, well, no, that's not something that we do, but we want to keep them as a client, so that's more important. So go ahead and sign off on it, and we'll back you up. I said, well, I need that in writing that you guys want me
Right.
to do that. And they said, okay, I tell you what, go sign off on them, and we'll give you the paperwork. I was like, my mama didn't raise a fool, so I waited for the date they told me he was going to get the paperwork before I signed off on anything. So the date they was going to give me the paperwork, they followed up with me and say, "Hey, did you sign off on that stuff?" I said, "No, not yet. I was waiting on the paperwork. Is that you guys are going to give me showing that you back me?" He said, "Well, we decided not to do that because if we do that for you, we got to do it for everybody else. But you can still go sign off on it." Like, no. They said, "Well, unfortunately, the client will need you gone if you're not going to sign off on it." I said, "Well, I guess it is what it is, And I was not necessarily in a position to not be employed at that time. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, I'm like, okay, there could be some serious ramifications if I do this. Plus, it's not moral, it's not ethical. There's a whole bunch of stuff it's not. So I did get let go. I got sent home, and make a long story short, about a year or so later, I get a call from the federal government that was actually reviewing that particular financial institution for those transactions that was happening based on those calculations, and they said that they actually got fined like what, several $1 million for that. And if I had signed off on those things, I would have been liable for that as well.
Of course, you would have went down because it would have been your signatures on all the paperwork, and they could have easily placed the blame on you.
Right, right. So, and also, I thought that there's no way they were going to give me a good recommendation because I'm trying to get employed again. This is when I was still working, hardcore in corporate America. And they actually gave me a really good recommendation on my next role I get, which shocked the mess out of me because I just knew that they were going to be upset, because I didn't do that. But it ended up, I went through a period of, it was like about three or 4 months, without, having employment. But I ended up getting I think after that is when I got one of my dream places I've always wanted to work, but kind of because it's kind of hard to get in there. So I ended up getting a role at I think it was at Southwest Airlines after that, and that was the place I've always wanted to work. So that ended up repositioning me, saying for that opportunity. Otherwise, I probably would have never even tried to go do that again because I was already, sitting somewhere else. So, it may seem like it don't make sense and it may even hurt a little bit, going through some of these processes, as I mentioned before, but, it just these faith building moments, these faith building experiences, is usually happening for this huge thing that's coming down the line. So, it's almost like working out. You start off with 5 to 10 pounds because you're trying to get to 400, so it just takes time, tap your muscles, rebuild, tap your muscles, rebuild. And I think that's what my faith foundation has been going through over the last 20 some years.
Mm-hmm. And so were you saved your whole entire life, or like when did you become exposed to the Father, like personally on a personal level for yourself?
So my mother raised us, myself and my brothers, going in church. We started off at First Assembly of God back with Marvin Gorman. For those old Christian old heads can remember Marvin Gorman back in the day. Marvin Gorman was one of the associates of Jimmy Swaggart, pre-Jimmy Swaggart, So we started off Pentecostal as a family, my immediate family. And then from there, we went to my grandmother was Southern Baptist, so we started going to a Southern Baptist church after that. And then I was exposed to that. I was exposed to AME. I went to a Catholic school, so I was exposed to going to mass and stuff like that. But my moment when I started truly developing my relationship with God was when I hit 12. Because I remember my mother came to me and she was like, "All right, according to the word, at this age right here, this is where you take ownership of your own decisions. This is the age that Jesus was when he said, 'Mother, I gotta be about my Father's business,' right?" So when she tasked that on me, the years before that, she had been making me study the Bible, especially like during the summer months and stuff. So there's a lot of Bible I knew. I just, I wasn't teaching anything like that. So when she put that on me, I made a point to, if I'm going to be held accountable for myself now, and I can't necessarily be covered by my parents from a spiritual standpoint, then let me take this thing up a notch and start to try to get to know for myself. So prayer and everything was always a part of my life, but it just kind of ratcheted up for me at that point.
Wow. So at the age of 12, your mother pretty much handed you over and said, "Okay, work it out." With fear and trembling. Work out your own salvation.
Yeah.
Okay, so then going into, and that's funny because I have a 5-year-old, so yeah, when he gets 12, I'm gonna do the same thing. Okay, work it out and get a job and get your own place too. No, I'm just joking. But going into entrepreneurship, because you mentioned that there were some hard times with being an entrepreneur, and I can attest to it because I'm an entrepreneur, self-employed. So what was those things? Why did you put your hand to the plow and didn't turn back? Like, what was those challenges in becoming an entrepreneur for those who have their own business and those that may be in the thick of it and they're just on the fence, like, man, if I had that 9-to-5 job, or if this would just break through, if this will work, and they don't want to give up, but they're probably on the verge of giving up?
First thing I want to say when it comes to that is that you gotta remember, what got you started. Why did you start? Was this your idea? Because if this was 100% your idea, then it's going to be some tough sledding because it's on you. When I stepped out, I was gainfully employed, making really good money, house, car, all that. Right. I'm doing my morning run that I do, and that I was doing at the time. I need to get back to doing that. And literally, God was like, "Hey, it's time for you to step out. I want you to step out and work your business full time." I was like, "Huh?" I mean, it was almost like a conversation I was having with somebody like who was like jogging right next to me. It was a very kind of a heavy moment, and I had a lot of questions because just stepping out, just jumping, saying like Steve Harvey talked about, is not something that I necessarily like to do. I want to be more calculated, have a plan, be strategic, things of that nature when I do things. Risk averse for the most part. But he literally said, do this, go here and start. and I questioned it. It was a crack of dawn. It had to be like, let's say about 5 a.m, between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. I was out there, and I was like, "Are you sure?" And it was, I just started like weeping, like crying hard. I'm like, I'm glad nobody else was out there because I was running around this park or whatever. I'm glad it was just me, by myself. But it was like, "Are you sure?" Like, because it was. I mean, it was like a risk. It felt like, I can't only imagine what Abraham felt like when he said, "All right, I want you to leave everything that you know and go this other place. And I'm not going to give you no details. I just want you to go this direction." That's what it kind of felt like, So when you're going to go on your entrepreneurial journey, you have to know that not just that he's with you and make it his idea, because it's going to be up to him to make it happen as opposed to making you have to make it happen. That's why I'm talking about it from the beginning like that. You have to be able to lean on him, as in, "Hey, Lord, I'm doing what you told me to do. So it's really on you. If I look bad, you look bad." But if it's your idea, you're just hoping, "Hey, I'm going to go do this. And, I need you to back me up," and that can be a much tougher road, because he can have a different plan for you. And now you got to learn this lesson in, doing it like this. So that's, for me, how you start and why you start is extremely important.
And what is your business?
So I run a career coaching agency. As you see behind me, I started off doing resumes, and as I was doing resumes for people through my LLC, I found out that the big problem that my clients were having wasn't in needing a good resume, because I could do that and help them get a job. But the problem was they hated their job. They didn't like it. They did it to make, to pay bills and stuff like that, but they didn't like their job. So that felt like a bigger problem, because I love what I did professionally. I knew what I wanted to do when I was in junior high. Mm-hmm. So everything I did, from junior high forward, was to get the career that I actually got to do. Come to find out, that's not the typical experience for people when it comes to career management and understanding themselves. So I was like, that's a bigger problem than people having a good resume just to get another job. So over the next few years, once I realized that, I created a process to help people understand themselves, especially from a professional standpoint, and also understanding what they want the career to produce for them, and how to properly align themselves with their natural gifts and abilities, along with the things that they do extremely well. Package that, market that, and that opens up a lot of more opportunities professionally. And typically people get paid a lot more that way as well. Plus you actually enjoy your job, And that's a benefit not just for the individual, but also a benefit for whoever the company they're working for, as well as the clients or customers who they engage with the product of their work. It just helps everybody all the way around. So I developed a process for that and got certified. I got certified as a life coach, but I only focus on the career lifestyle. So I'm not certified life.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see a CPC, certified professional coach. I got certified in what's called neuro linguistic programming, NLP.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same type of coaching that Tony Robbins is certified in. So I got certified. I'm a certified NLP practitioner and coach as well, which helps me understand reading people and walking people through processes in order for them to, again, understand themselves and work through things that they could be dealing with that could be blocks in the way. So that's what I do now.
Oh, that's interesting. So pretty much they come to you needing a career change, whatever, but you look at it in a deeper sense of what are your skills? You know, what do you bring to the table? What is it that you want to do? And you package that, a tailored package made for them specifically, and then they market themselves in the corporate America field, and then they go to companies to see if they can get hired on based on what they bring to the table.
So my process is first find out who you are, right? Because that's what breeds the confidence, right? Once you know, it's almost like that Lion King moment. You know, he was always a big lion. He was always strong, fast, the whole nine. But he was walking around with a meerkat and a pig eating bugs, right? But when he realized who he was and started operating who he was, it created a catalyst of events that brought him to the mountaintop.
Mm-hmm.
So my job is to be the monkey that help people understand, okay, this is who you are. Now that you accepted who you are and what who you are can produce for you, let's create a plan around that and market that and show them a process how to market that. And now you start opening up opportunities for you to get into the field and into the roles that you're going to excel at. And then we go from there. So that's kind of the process from a very high level that I use.
Awesome. And so what has been your success rate? What has been your turnaround rate with that?
It's actually varied to the individual. I've had people quadruple their salary, double their salary within just a couple of years. On the average, people get at least a 15 to 25% bump in their yearly pay within the first year. You know, just and that's without having to go back to school or do a bunch of extra stuff, because a lot of people are misaligned. You know what I'm saying? That's just rinsing it off, cleaning up, you know what I'm saying, and reposition it as like, oh, okay, that's not just worth X amount, that's worth X amount, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it is that to start off with, and then you go down the path of focused, intentional development at that point, according to whatever you're doing, and you know that's when things start to exponentialize over time.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, Rogers. That's good. And so, since you are the example of your brothers, have they went on and found their own way, their path, and graduated and working within their careers?
Well, I have to say, I'm proud to say that I'm I'm no longer the only college graduate in the family. My brother that's behind me, he's actually a 20, I think he's a 15-year veteran in the military. So that's, you know, so he did extremely well for himself, and he actually lives in Japan now. My brother under him has a college degree in accounting. My brother under him has a college degree in culinary.
Mm-hmm.
He's a chef, you know. So it actually did create a domino effect in my family.
Oh, nice. So you changed the trajectory of your bloodline of your family just by that one faith act to propel you to where you are now. And what's the name of your mom's pie business?
My mother's name is Robin, so it's Robin's Pies. So yeah, Robin Pies, robinpies.com. Amazing, it's amazing stuff.
Oh, so she shipped worldwide, like she ships, like makes it in. Oh, okay. And she's located in New Orleans still?
No, she's in Texas. The train,
Oh,
that's a whole nother testimony story, because you remember I'm from New Orleans.
right.
Um, after I passed that class and got my degree, within 3 months, I was sitting on the ninth floor in my office at a company in Texas that moved me to Texas. So that fate story kept going. That testimony kind of kept going, even past the day of that test. So, with me being positioned in Texas when Katrina hit, I was in a position where my people had somewhere to come, to Texas initially. They came and they were staying with me, and I was able to help people get jobs and, kind of get situated here in the Texas, DFW area. So my mother lives in Fort Worth now.
Oh, okay. So just that thread right there, like you can always trace the thread of God, the hand of God in it. So that very faith act of you passing that test not only set you up, but set your family up. And you all were able to escape the devastation of what happened with Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans.
Yep.
Wow. So we're going to transition to the fire rapid questions. First one, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, number one, what is your favorite verse in the Bible?
Proverbs 4:7. We'll get wisdom, because wisdom is the most important thing you can do.
Number two, how do you get into the presence of the Lord?
I find a place so I can kind of be off to myself, and where I can have peace and no distractions, and I start talking.
Number three, what do you think heaven will be like?
My mind cannot begin to comprehend what that's going to look like. I've tried so many times to kind of conceptualize it. I don't think my brain has the capacity to understand what it's going to be like.
Number four, who would you like to meet in heaven? It can be from the Old Testament or New Testament.
I want to talk to Joseph. Because I want to know how it is to get a vision that you're going to have all these people bowing to you, and the moon and stars, and then right after that you end up in a doggone pit, then you end up in a slave, then you end up being a prisoner. Doom, doom, doom. I want to talk to him the year before he got pulled out the prison to go talk to the Pharaoh. How did you feel at that moment? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Number five, given the opportunity where you're in a small, quiet, intimate setting and God manifests himself to you face to face, what would that conversation be like? What would you say to him?
Honestly, my first thought was, dude, what's up? Like, why? I have a lot of why questions. Like, what? A lot of why questions.
Wow. Okay. And then the bonus question is all the things that you've been through your entire life, because nobody knows like God knows, but all the things that you've been through, and of course, not knowing what the future holds, not knowing what other things that you may have to endure as time goes on. Do you regret ever having a relationship with him?
No, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have made it. Think about it. I grew up in the lower ninth ward of New Orleans, starting off. If you know anything about the lower ninth ward of New Orleans as an African American male, think about 5 African American males coming out of lower ninth ward of New Orleans. Really? Not no illegitimate, no drug uses. Nobody even drinks. No broken bones. Nobody been shot, nobody gangs, we don't have children around over the jurisdiction. Nah, absolutely not.
Because he's kept you all. So that is our show. Any last thoughts? Any last thing that you want to say to the audience?
Absolutely. The God never leaves you. And I know what it feels like to think that he's left you before. And that is not a place that's made for you to escape from, honestly. So I want, with anything, no matter how irritating or dark or looks like it's impossible, understand that he has not left you. He has not left you. He still wants you. You still have a plan. This is not the end. Focus on him. This is what he wants you to do right there in that moment, and keep the faith.
Thank you so much for coming on to the Life Talk Show. I hope that this encouraged you, whatever path that you are on as far as your career, whatever it may be with your gifts and talents that God has placed in you to do to advance the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven, and for it to make room for you to set you up, not just you, but your bloodline and for those that are to come. So I hope this blessed you. Thank you so much for watching, for sharing and liking this talk show. And I will see you guys this Saturday with a new guest. Take care. God bless. Bye.